Hello and welcome to lesson 4 of week 8. In this lesson, we are going to look at hash map in Python. My name is Mildred. A hash map is like we have dictionary in Python that stores key value pairs where the key is unique and then the key is hashed to determine where its value is stored. So we can use it for lookup, for insertion and deletion, and all of the time complexity for this operation are typically big O of 1 on average. Now in Python, we have the built-in dict type. The dictionary data type is a hash map that is implemented in C with advanced optimizations. So we'll just implement this in Python for us to understand how it works, but it's just basically our sequence type dictionary that we learned in Python lesson, and we can use dictionary to store key value pairs, and dictionary is a built-in hash map. But let's implement a custom hash map. Let's use open addressing and we use the linear probing to do that. So I'll create a class called hash map. So say class hash map, and for the method I want it to just get the capacity or the size. So we'll say def init self, and let's get the capacity. Now we initialize this and say self.capacity will be equal to capa. Alright, and then we want to get the size. So the size is just like the length of the array or the number of elements in the array. So we'll say self.size is equal to, let's say 0, and let's get the different buckets for the table. So we'll say self.table is equal to, we have a list filled with none, and we'll multiply it by the capacity of the bucket or of the table. Now let's create a hash function. So you see that this is a lot similar with the set that we have done, only that is the keys here that are unique, but in the set itself is unique, right? So we get function key, and we want to use the inbuilt hash function and modulo the capacity. So we're going to return the hash of the key modulo the capacity. Now we want to get a function. Let's call this function, let's say put, where we want to use it to insert or update a key value pair. So we have most of these inbuilt functions in dictionary in Python that we use to, or the methods that we use to manipulate a dictionary data type, but we're trying to implement it for us to understand under the hood what a hash map is. And so this put, we want to put both the key and the value, and here we want to say index is equal to self.hash. Let's use the hash function key, and we'll get the start index is equal to index. So now we're going to loop through. So we want to use this to add a new key value pair, and we want to look through the table to see that if a bucket contains an item is not known, we want to now get the key value to be equal to that index that we want, and then we want to check or update the existing value if that key already exists, and if not, we want to put a new one, something like that. So let's do it like this. Let's use a while loop, and we'll say while self.table, and we want the element at the current index is not known. So while there is an element there, we want to use, let's say, key value will now be equal to self.table index, and we want to say if the key in this loop is equal to the key we are trying to insert, then we want to update the existing. So say self.table index, so we're updating the value or that key is equal to want to update, so it's a key. And if so, we'll just return this when we do that. And if not, what we want to do here is to set the index after the while it loops and the key doesn't already exist, we want to move to the next index plus 1. So index will now be the next one modulo self.capacity. Now we want to check if the index is equal to the start index, then we'll raise an exception that the hash map is full or something like that. So if index is equal to start index, so by the time it completes looping through and there is no space, we'll raise exception and say hash map is full or something like that. So this already exists in Python. There is no reason to re-implement it. I just want you to understand under the hood how these functions are created. Now we want to insert the new key value pair after we are looped, and so we'll say so we're inserting into the table. So self.table index is equal to, we insert the key and the value, and then we want to update the number of elements, so the size now. So we'll say self.size plus equal 1, something like that. So this should be able to insert into that hash map. Now let's create another function, and that we'll use let's create a get function. So let's say def, because a dictionary we have the get method that we use for us to be able to get the elements at a particular key. So we'll get self and key, and and here we just want to retrieve a value for a given key. So we'll set the index to be equal to self dot the hash function key. Now we want to set the start index to be equal to index. So we'll say start index will now be equal to the index. Right now we want to say while there is an item, so while self.table index is none, so it's not none, so while there is an item there, we want to loop through the self.table index. We'll loop through the values there, and we'll loop through the key and values, and want to say that if the key is the same thing as the key that we want to get, we want to return the value. So we're using this to get that value. But if not, we want to set the index to continue the looping index plus 1, or we'll use modulo self.capacity. Now we want to say if the index is start index, it just means that we just break. So if it's we've gotten to the end and we don't find that item, we break and return none. So we'll say if index is equal to start index, you just break, and here we want to return none. Yeah? So that means key not found. When it's none, key is not found. Let's create a method to remove. We'll create a method to display. So you can actually look through your lesson resource to see example of how you can create a method to remove the key value pair if it's present. We can create a method to check if the table contains a certain key, and then let's create one to display. And so let's use this for example. So let's say dev display. So we want to display everything in the table. I just want this to be formatted, so let's do it like we did in the last lesson, and I'll print, let me use a \n. I'll get the index, the key, and the value. Then I'll print a header line. Then I'm going to loop through for the index item in enumerate. We want to get this from the table. We say if item, so if it is not empty and there is an item there, we want to print the key value pair. So I'll format this. So let's say if item, let's use I want to put a serial number, and I want to put it to maybe the middle of the row. I'll use this formatting. So I'll print the serial number or the index. So I use I for the index, and then I want to print the item. So I'll put item at index position 0 is the key, and then I'll print the value, which will be item at index position 1. So I'll do this like this. Okay, so we are going to say else if there's no item, we want to just print like just empty lines. So I'll just use this. So else, so I'll print the serial number, and here we'll use the index, and I'll put just empty lines here. So now let's see how we can use this. So let's say if name equal to main, we want to say let's create the hash map is equal to hash map, and let's say I want it to be 7, so we'll have 7 empty buckets. So I'll put hash map dot put, let me put the key to be apple, the value to be 10, let me put apple, banana, grape. So in our first lesson that we did, just a general hash table example, we have covered a lot of this. So banana will be 20, let's say the key here is grape will be 30, and let's make apple again to be 40, let's put banana 50. So you can see that I just want us to have duplicate and see that it will update the existing key to the last one that I put. And let's display here minterm.display. So these are the methods. So let's say we have a get method. Let's print the get also. Let's print get. I want to get the grape, and here I'm going to say hm.get. Let's apply the key, something like this. And you can create a function or a method within this class that you can use to check if something contains. Okay, so let's run this and see if it works well. So we have it working well. So we get grape. So we get the grape is the key, 30 is the value. All right, and so we have this index position 2 contains grape, 3 contains banana, 5 contains apple. And so you see apple is 40 because he updated the first value of 10, and banana is 50 because he updated the first value of 20. And so this is exactly what we see in the dictionary data type we have in Python. So the real world application of hash map is when you want to do lookups and indexing, when you want to count the frequency of an element, when you want to implement cache and routing tables, when you want to manage maybe user IDs, usernames, profiles and stuff, and you want to configure settings to have like key value store. And the common hash map patterns that we have is dictionary in Python, so you can refresh your knowledge on Python dictionaries. So this is where we end this lesson. Thank you and see you next week.